What's up guys? Today we're going to check out Minority Report on 4K Blu-ray. I'm not here to talk about how good or bad this movie is. I'm just going to share some of my thoughts on the audio and the video quality. Now let's go over a few tech specs. The movie was shot on film. It's got a 4K DI. It's rated PG-13. Runtime is 145 minutes. Aspect ratio is 239:1. And the audio is in DTS HD 5.1. Now, for a list of equipment that I use for these 4K reviews, you can find all that information down below in this video's description. For you movie purists out there, they did not remix Minority Report with an ATMOS soundtrack, even though I think it would have sounded great. We get the same 5.1 channel mix that's on the older Blu-ray, which was nominated for an Oscar for Best Sound Editing back in 2002, but it didn't win. It's still a great sounding 5-channel mix that can upmix pretty good if you have more than a 5.1 channel setup. The scenes that were demo material back in the day still holds up even now. The fight scene in the alley has good back-to-front movement when the cops come flying overhead into the scene with very convincing channel panning. And it sounds even better using Neural X upmixing to fill in the rear soundstage. The bass response from the sonic pistols at the Audi car factory gave me a nice blast of LFE to the chest during that shootout. And the bass drops from the John Williams score went surprisingly low. The entire score actually has excellent bass throughout. This movie's also got great atmospherics with clever surround placement at the train station. As Tom's walking through, you'll hear different advertisements follow him through different speakers as he's passing each one of those holograms. When he visits the good doctor at her greenhouse, there is a ton of insects and birds chirping in the surround channels, which also sounds even more immersive when you're using Neural X. Bass response wasn't crazy over the top, but when the action kicked in, it can hit hard in the 30 to say 40 hertz region. And as mentioned before, the musical score was dynamic throughout. Now, video quality wise, I personally didn't find this to be a massive jump over the older Blu-ray. Some scenes did look a bit tighter and less compressed, which made the grain structure have a finer texture, so it looked slightly less noisy. If you're someone that doesn't like film grain, then you might not like the way that this movie looks. It's not as grainy as the new 90s Mutant Turtles 4K transfer, but it's still grainy nonetheless. I'd say it falls in the low to medium levels of grainy transfers. So as far as I can tell, they didn't try to scrub the film grain away a la Terminator 2 style. There isn't a ton of ultrafine details in this, if any really. It's got a soft look to it, which was an intentional look they were going for. They used this process called bleach bypass. This is a modification of traditional film processing that is used to achieve muted colors but have rich blacks. It generally involves the weakened or partial omission of the bleaching function during the last stage of processing of color film. By doing this, the silver crystals that produce an image in the photochemical film stocks are retained in the emulsion alongside the color dyes. This effectively results in a black and white image superimposed on the 3 color separations unified by the final print of color film stock. Film printed in this way will usually have reduced saturation and exposure latitude, along with increased contrast and more prominent grain. So this is why this movie has that very desaturated color palette with overexposed hot highlights and black levels, which does have some crushing of details. The overall look of the movie also has this soft halation effect, or rather, it looks a little cloudy, which keeps this from having a crispy, sharp image, although it still is marginally sharper than the older Blu-ray. That being said, knowing what they did to achieve this visual style, this new 4K transfer shows it off as good as it can probably get. It's not going to blow your socks off in detail or in color, but if you're a fan of the movie, it's, I think, a worthy upgrade. I'm going to go with an 8.4 for video. Audio-wise, it's still a great sounding 5-channel mix with good sound movement and solid bass response throughout, with a very dynamic John Williams score. I'm going to go with an 8.8 for audio. So what are your thoughts on this new 4K transfer of Minority Report? And what was up with that awkward kiss? And what was up with the Tom Cruise butt grab? I wonder if those were scripted because they seem to come out of nowhere. Anyways, leave your comment down below and let me know. Now, if you do want to pick up this 4K Blu-ray, I will leave some links for it down below in this video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow us on social media. And if you want to support the channel and get exclusive content or great discounts on audio and video gear, then stop on my Patreon page. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you again in the next video.